Megananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanmanubhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swavadantikam Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Bhaktivinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Panchakalpatrubhyasta Kripasindu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So the very fact that we're sitting here in this beautiful SriRadhaRasbihariTemple is due to the untiring, unflinching mercy of Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur. Because if it wasn't for Bhaktivinod Thakur, practically, when he appeared, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya were practically lost. The pure teachings. People knew about Chaitanya, but they were practically lost. So we're incredibly indebted to Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur. So on this Trayodasi day of the month of Bhadra, which is the appearance of Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur, we'll try to speak something in his glorification. So he appeared in a village called Bir Nagar, also known as Ula Nagar, in a very aristocratic family and very wealthy family. They were landowners and they had many properties, and they were kayastas. Now some people say that kayastas are somewhere between Brahmins and Kshatriyas. According to others, they're Sudras. Anyway, I can understand Varnashram Dharma, but I've never understood caste system. And he was given the name Kedarnath Datta. And shortly thereafter, they moved to Calcutta, where he got his education, his beginning education. And quite a young age, his father died. Although he was born in opulent circumstances, he had to meet so many struggles in his early life. And after completing his education, it was very difficult to find a job in Calcutta at that time. So he got his first job as a teacher in a place called Kendrapara, which was not far from Choti Mangalpur, where they had some family properties. So he stayed there in Choti Mangalpur, in Orissa. So Birnagar was in Bengal, but Choti Mangalpur was in Orissa. And there, he got a job as a teacher. He was getting 20 rupees a month. Imagine how powerful the rupee was then. 20 rupees we don't even think about today. And there they had some ancestral deities. There was one deity of Patita Pavan, Lord Jagannath, who's been worshipped for 400 years at that time by their family. And they had one also very ancient, Laddu Gopal. Somehow certain devotees try to say that Laddu Gopal is only for Balav Sampradaya, but this is an old custom in Indian households to have little Laddu Gopal. And there was one other deity. There was a Shalagram Shila called Raghunath. And the history of that Raghunath Shila is very interesting. Because a couple of generations before, he had one great ancestor. I can't remember his name just now. But that place in Choti Mangalpur, because since they were landowners, many, many people came to them for shelter, because those days that was the etiquette. That was the culture, that if you had land, if you were a landowner, then you had some place where wandering sadhus and Brahmins could stay, and sometimes they would accept your cooking, sometimes they would supply the ingredients for cooking. And this was the culture at that time. Wandering sadhus had no problem. There was always some place for them to stay and cook and live peacefully. So one day, one unknown Brahmin came, because those days everybody knew, for villages around, they knew everyone. Nowadays we live in big apartment buildings on the 35th floor. We don't know who's on this side, we don't even know who's on that side. But those days, for villages around, you knew everyone. So, and very interesting, this sadhu, he only had a little shoulder bag that didn't look like it had much in it. So he obviously, nobody knew who he was unknown, so obviously he come from a far off land. And you know, if you're traveling for far off, then you need nowadays you need 2 big Samsonite suitcases. He just had this little jola. It didn't look like it had hardly anything in it. So he arrived around noontime. So they invited him to stay and cook, and they gave him some oil so he could take his bath. And at that time there was a canal nearby, but it was summertime, that had dried up. He had to go by the nearby river. So unseen by anyone, he put his jola inside the deity room. And he went off to take his bath. After an hour or so, people became worried. What happened? He hasn't returned. Finally, when he still didn't return, they sent someone to go and they sent some servants to go and find out if they could find him anywhere. They began to worry that maybe he slipped and drowned in the river. Something horrible had happened. They couldn't understand. They looked all over. And that sadhu was never seen again. That Brahmin was never seen again. And the jola was in the temple room. So nobody in those days, everybody was afraid to touch it. Now if you set your jola down in Krishna Balaram Mandir, in 2 seconds it's gone. So they asked the pujari to see what's inside. And he opened up the jola and he pulled out this very large Raghunath Shila. They could tell that it was a Ram Shila, Raghunath. In fact, his mouth was so big there was another shalagram, smaller shalagram inside his mouth. So they were bewildered. They didn't know what to do. And so the pujari said, Raghunath has come, so he has to be worshipped regularly. So Bhaktivinod's ancestor, he surmised that actually that Brahmin was none other than Raghunath himself. He come to give them special mercy and left this Raghunath Shila there. And so the pujari began the worship, and whatever his ancestor had, he always engaged it in the service of Raghunathji. And they eventually found out that he was very fond of bananas. So Bhaktivinod's great-grandfather, he used to bring, 4 or 5 bananas and hang them because it was a thatched roof, they'd hang them from the rafters, and as they ripened, they would offer them. And everybody found out, of course, they were all with materialistic desires. So everyone would come and offer bananas. to Raghunathji. And one time that ancestor, he brought back 5 bunches of bananas and he hung them in the rafters, and in 2 days they all became ripe. So he understood this was Raghunath's desire to eat lots of bananas. So they had to offer all the bananas. After that, he never brought more than 4 or 5. Raghunath will eat us out of house and home. This very special deity was there. And it's described that Kendrapara was a few kilometers away, so Bhaktivinod, as was the custom those days, he went by palanquin. And it was a very long palanquin carried by 6 people. And Bhaktivinod, he would actually lie down and go to sleep, and he would go, even though it was jerking, he would sleep, go to do his teaching job, and then sleep and come back. Eventually, because even from childhood, he lost his father in a young age, so he was always inquiring about why there was miseries in this life, and he was inquiring about God, always. Eventually, some traveling sadhus began to give him hints about the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he became influenced by the Gaudiya Sampradaya. He heard their philosophy, and because at that time, so many speculations had come. There was some Brahmo Samaj and so many Western speculations. And even Bhaktivinod, he was investigating these speculations, but when he got the pure teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, this is the real thing. And he endeavored to find, Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. It was very difficult in those days. And he began to understand that those who were preaching Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, they had completely lost the real essence. And most people thought that Gaudiya Vaishnavas are just people who they're just beggars, and they just chant Hare Krishna to get some money. Nobody had any real respect. And Bhaktivinod was in high society. He knew high society. They had no respect for Gaudiya Sampradaya, and the Sajias had taken over, and they introduced so many things we won't mention here. So Bhaktivinod set out to try to get the understanding the real philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. He tried to get the educated class of people to understand. And sometime there's a story when he was staying at Choti Mangala. He went for a journey. He took his first son actually died, and then his first wife actually died. Then he married Bhagavati Devi, and he had so many children by her. One of them was Bimal Prasad. Bimal Prasad and a few other sons, they went traveling, and they came to some place. There was an abandoned temple, so they spent the night there. And when they came in the morning in the village, the people said, "Where have you come from? Where did you spend the night?" And they said, "In that abandoned Shiva temple." He said, "Nobody stays there. There's a ghost who throws rocks and disturbs people." Yes, he tried to disturb, but I chanted very loudly the holy name, and he went away. He said, "But that Pujari, he was always chanting the holy name." He said he was vibrating the syllables, but he was keeping so many materialistic thoughts within his heart. So he never touched the holy name. But when he was hear the sound vibration from the mouth of a pure devotee, Mahabhagavat, then he was freed from this condition. And nobody ever saw any evidence of that ghost again. There's another incident in Bhaktivinod's early life that somebody came to him and he told them to go underneath a certain banyan tree and read Srimad Bhagavatam aloud. So he stood, and this banyan tree, there was a ghost. So he sat there and read Srimad Bhagavatam for 30 days. On the 30th day, that banyan tree just came crashing to the ground. And nobody saw any evidence of that ghost again. And everyone was very happy, except for the few dishonest people who were worshiping that ghost for their self-interest. So, and then we're very indebted to Bhaktivinod Thakur because he began to preach. He's the first in our line of acharyas to preach in a language outside of Indian languages. And I just read this morning that his first poem he composed when he was 2 years old. He made a poem that foretold that, we know Bhaktivinod Thakur's so many beautiful poetries and so many beautiful bhajans he's written, even from 2 years old. At 6 years old, he knew Ramayana and Mahabharata. Do you know any 6-year-old who knows all the stories of Mahabharata and Ramayana? But he was extraordinary intelligence. So, and the Britishers, recognizing his great intelligence and his management talents, they transferred into so many different places, and finally they gave him the post of the district magistrate of Puri. Now, those days, any large place, an important place like that, the district magistrate was always a Britisher. But even the Britishers appreciated his great intelligence and his managing talent. They made him because Puri was a very sensitive place. They knew Bhaktivinod could take care of this place, so he became the district magistrate of Puri. And his home was just down the street from the Jagannath temple. In fact, very beautiful Gaudiya Math is there. And the birthplace we know of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is there. So he, Jai, Sisi Gornitai, Sisi Radharasbihari, Sri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai. Because he was feeling inadequate to save the pure teachings of pure bhakti, Shuddha bhakti. So he was always praying for a son. Just like I also, on Prabhupada's Vyas Puja one year, I wrote a poem also that Priti Vichyatarara Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachoy Hoibe Maranam. 500 years has flown since Chaitanya made this known. But some of them had guessed that those who would be blessed were each and every town in Nadi around. Maybe in Bengal, that certainly was all. Orissa too, they said, is where the name might spread. In Bharat Bars may be, but not beyond the sea. Thakur did not agree. If Chaitanya is Lord of all, let all lands hear his call. And so he got a son to get the duty done. A lion amongst the saints, the Mayavadi faints. In you he marked the sign. He'll do the work in time. And so he made you this request to get the whole world blessed. Because he had gotten a special dream where Jagannath came. He said, I didn't bring you here to Puri so you could take care of some legal matters. You have a lot of work to do to preach the message of Mahaprabhu. And he told him, specifically, you worship Bimla Devi. There's one very special deity in Jagannath temple. In fact, after the bhoga is offered to Jagannath, first they have to offer to Bimla Devi, or it's not Mahaprasad. That's why Bhaktisiddhanta got the name Bimal Prasad, because he was praying to Bimla Devi. So he got Bimal Prasad as his illustrious son. And Bhaktivinod was not, later he tried in so many ways to get transferred to some place near Mayapur. But they were always refusing his requests. So somehow he gave his petition for retirement. They refused to let him retire either. Finally, by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, he got posted in Krishna Nagar. And Bhaktivinod was amazing personality. He would just spend very little time eating and sleeping and all these bodily duties. He would finish very quickly, and he would finish his material duties, whatever. He was magistrate, he had to sit in court sometimes, finish all that and spend the balance time. Even in Puri he was doing that, but more in Krishna Nagar. He was very absorbed in understanding the real teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he started the Sajjana Toshini for the benefit of the Sajjana, the gentle people, that they could understand that Mahaprabhu's philosophy is the crown jewel of Vedanta philosophy. And he was not convinced, because at that time Navadvip, at his time, it was just a town of 100 years old. But Mahaprabhu had appeared 200 or 300 years before that. And it always said on the, mentioned specifically the eastern bank, and not Navadvip was on the western bank. It always mentioned the scriptures in the eastern bank. So he began to search out where was the actual birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And eventually people told him that it's lost. They said, no, that's the real place there in the town of Navadvip. But he got old maps and old writings, and he found out there was some place on the eastern bank of the Ganga where some special realized souls were worshipping as the actual birthplace of Srimad Mahaprabhu. At this time, he had come in contact with Jagannath Das Babaji, who was over 120 years old when this incident happened. He found this place. It was under the control of the Mohammedans at the time, but nothing grew there. Only Tulsi grew there. So it was completely neglected. Everywhere else, if you've been to in Mayapur in the old days, was nothing but green paddy fields. Everyone was paddy fields, but paddy wouldn't grow there. Only Tulsi would grow. So it was neglected. And he brought Jagannath Das Babaji to this place. He had to be carried in a basket. I can't remember his servant's name, but his servant carried him in a basket. And to see anything, he had to lift his eyelids like this. So they brought him to this place. He opened his eyes, and he jumped home about 2 or 3 meters in the sky. He couldn't even walk, but he leapt and began to dance. Eto nimai janmastan, eto nimai janmastan. So this confirmed that this was the actual place. And then he himself went begging door to door in Calcutta to try to collect funds for this Gaur Vishnupriya temple that was to be built there. And even the newspapers carried the story that Bhaktivinod is going door to door, and we hope that every Hindu gentleman will give him their bite, however small it may be, to help in this noble endeavor. And so finally he established this beautiful temple at Yogapith. And his evidence that this was the real place was so great that if you've ever been to Mayapur, maybe you haven't noticed, or maybe you have noticed, just across the street from Yogapith, there's the Mayapur post office. This is very significant because he had enough evidence that the government accepted that this was Mayapur, and they put a post office there called Mayapur Post Office. This is the real Mayapur. And so Bhaktivinod, every chance he got, he was just preaching the glories of the holy name. Eventually he retired and he found a nice place in Godrum Dweep to stay, and he would sometimes stay there. And Gorkashore Das Babaji, we would always come and stay with him. He loved his Prabhu, and sometimes he'd go to Calcutta. He established his Bhakti Bhavan, and he began printing so many books, and he was just like Bhaktivinod. He sings that song about Narad Muni. He said, when the whole world is dancing and chanting, then my all desires are satisfied. So the more the chanting was preached, and he was training Bhaktisiddhanta, and had him taking over the place because he was busy in Bhakti Bhavan, and so many ways he began to preach and instill faith in people and preach the glories of the holy name. And he started the Vishwa Vaishnava Raja Sabha, which was later rejuvenated, and so many books he wrote, and he wrote books defeating all of the because he had, in his youth, he was exposed to all these Western speculations and speculative philosophies. And I can't remember the name of that book, but he wrote books where he defeats word by word every argument, every one of the philosophies, and established Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Chinta Veda Tattva is supreme. And he began preaching in English, and even he wrote books in English. One of those books was Lord Chaitanya, His Life and Precepts. And a copy of that book managed to arrive in McGill University in Canada in 1896. And we all know 1896 was the year that our divine spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, appeared in this world. It's very significant. So we're only sitting here because Bhaktivinod desired that the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya be the real philosophy, be understood by the intelligent class of men and be spread all over the world. Bhaktisiddhanta, he sent some disciples to London. Somehow there's one even German sannyasi, Sadanand Maharaj, who did a lot of preaching also. And finally we know that Srila Prabhupada, he took the essence of Bhaktivinod's desire that this name and philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu be spread to the Western worlds, and Prabhupada fulfilled that long-cherished desire of Srila Bhaktivinod. He wrote that very soon, Bhaktivinod wrote that very soon someone will come who will take up the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spread it throughout the land, throughout the world. And he was praying that when will that day come? When the Americans and Russians and French and Germans will join with their Bharatiya brothers in Mayapur, Dham, at the Yoga Pit, dancing and chanting, Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana. So every year we see that desire fulfilled. Every year thousands of devotees come, now thousands. I went to the first really organized, they say it's 73, but really organized was 1974. And we had like 500 or 600 devotees. We thought that was a big festival. Now 6,000 is nothing. What to speak of 600? 6,000 is nothing. We had thousands of devotees. And every part of India, people are coming. And every part of the world, we were mentioning yesterday, so many interesting places are there. Now people are coming and hearing about Lord Chaitanya. This is all the fulfillment of Bhaktivinod's desire. He was just saying, oh, for that day, when that day will come, when the Russians and English and Americans and French and Germans and Japanese and our Bharati brothers will join together singing the names of Lord Chaitanya. We can't imagine how blissful Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur must be to see what Srila Prabhupada has done all over the world. And Bhaktivinod has become a household word. Even I saw yesterday when I was studying that even in Wikipedia they talk about Bhaktivinod Thakur. So this is the greatness of Srila Prabhupada. He made such a great personality who was hidden, practically hidden, because people were had no regard for the Gaudiya philosophy. And Srila Prabhupada, to fulfill Bhaktivinod's desire, he did all this incredible work. So, there's one other story we missed just before settling in Choti Mangalpur. He was told to go to, he had a grandfather named Raj Bhoga Datta. And he was about to leave, so they sent word to Bhaktivinod to come. So he was staying in Orissa somewhere, and he told Bhaktivinod, he predicted, because he was an astrologer, that very soon you will be the prime mover for preaching the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he told him that he told him about all the different properties that they owned, and there were some people were misusing those properties. He should get them all cleared. And then he knew the time. He gave all his blessings to Bhaktivinod Thakur, and suddenly he disappeared from this world. He knew the time of his death, so he called Bhaktivinod to give him all his blessings, and like a yogi, he just left this world. So Bhaktivinod, he got those properties owners or managers set aright. It also describes Bhaktivinod, he also went to Vrindavan. And at that time there was so many dacoits who were attacking all the innocent pilgrims. And Bhaktivinod, he managed to bring it to the government's attention, and by his intense endeavor, he managed to get those dacoits driven out completely from Braj. And then his house at Godrumadweep was known as Swananda Sukhada Kunj. And we know from there, across the river, when he was searching for the real place of Mahaprabhu's birth, he saw some strange lights around the other side of the river. On that land on the other side. He asked his secretary, do you see? Is yes, I see. And so they investigated, and then that's when they found the real place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. And he also had a nice house on the beach in Puri called Bhakti Kutir, where he met all different types of people and preached to them. Fortunately, somehow ISKCON has managed to get there. It was filled with so many squatters and everything, but one nice devotee, he managed to make friends with everyone in Puri and the police and everyone, and got it all, everyone taken out from there, and the beautiful ISKCON temple is there, right kitty corner from Haridas Thakur's Samadhi. And he also... Oh yeah, I almost skipped that. I'm getting so excited just thinking about Bhaktivinod. Yeah. Okay, so one time while he was in Puri as the magistrate, there was some crazy guy named Bisikena who was claiming to be Vishnu. And he was performing Ras Leela with all the village ladies and polluting the village ladies, and everyone was very upset with him. He also gave a date that on such and such date, I'm Mahavishnu, I will reveal my forearm form, and I will drive all the British. Of course, the British were very upset by this. He's trying to rabble-rouse and get the people against the British. Bhaktivinod wasn't interested in the British self-interest. He was interested that somebody was trying to claim, that an ordinary Jeev was trying to claim that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Bhaktivinod, he began to gather evidence, and he also went to visit. That guy was hiding in the jungle, and Bhaktivinod went there, and they had never met. But that fellow, by his mystic powers, he said, he recognized, Kedarnath Bhatta Babu, why have you come here? I know why you have come. And then he began to flatter Bhaktivinod and try to get him on his side. And Bhaktivinod challenged him in so many ways. And he ordered the police to capture him, but he made sparks fly from his hair. Everyone was frightened. So Bhaktivinod had to personally grab him. And they arrested him and put him in jail. And then he told Kedarnath Babu, you will see what will happen to your family now. And then somehow his daughter became deathly sick. His wife became sick. Everyone in his family, even his family, lost faith. They were saying, please, let this guy go. We're going to all die. But Bhaktivinod was firm. Even Bhaktivinod, he came down with a strange fever, although he was in perfect health. You see those pictures, Bhaktivinod with this wonderful jacket on and so robust. He was in perfect health, but he had this strange fever. And he had to be in court the next day. Somehow or other, at the proper moment, he strode into the courtroom, sat down, and gave the judgment that this guy is guilty of treason and so many other heinous crimes. And there was one British fellow working in the court, one clerk was there, and he heard that yogis kept their powers in their hair. So although everyone was afraid of this guy, somehow he came from behind, and with his scissors he chopped off all his hair, and he fell down completely helpless. And a few days later, he left his body in the jail. In this way, some incarnation of Balaram appeared, and so many so-called incarnations. Prabhupada said there's a incarnation factory in India because labor is cheap, so they export these incarnations all over the world. Every city you go, there's some 16-year-old avatar and this and that. I can remember that 16-year-old avatar. We were in LA. I was in the garden with Srila Prabhupada in LA, and they were telling Prabhupada that these people had come, that the 16-year-old avatar is coming, and they wanted us to come to the airport to chant. Because we're supposed to be the devotees of Krishna, and he's the latest incarnation of Krishna. And Prabhupada said, who's saying he's Krishna? Prabhupada said, we accept the big guns. Vyasadeva, Narada, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, we accept the big guns. What do the big guns say? They're all saying Krishna is Supreme Personality of God. Who is saying he's Supreme Personality of Godhead? Prabhupada said, you go there and kick on his head. In fact, some karmi eventually did exactly that. He punched him or hit him with a rod or something. And when Prabhupada heard, he said, why our men did not do? So he got rid of all these so-called incarnations. And, oh yeah, well, I would say that for Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance. But anyway, the way that he knew that this was because he was praying for a ray of Vishnu, Bhaktivinod, and when Bibal Prasad came, shortly after, well, first of all, his umbilical cord was wrapped around his head just like a Brahmin thread. And then the Rath cart came and stopped in front of Bhaktivinod's house. So his wife, since she was the wife of the district magistrate, she managed to climb on the cart and nobody stopped her. And she put the child at the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath. And Lord Jagannath's garland immediately fell down on top of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So like he said, he was a lion among the saints. We all hear the word Singaguru, but actually his real title was Acharya Keshari. Keshari also means lion. His real name was Acharya Keshari. Everyone was frightened of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So Bhaktivinod knew, this is the fellow who will, this is what I've been praying for. And we know together this combination, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, just like you read Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's writings in English, even I, who English is my language, I need a dictionary to understand what he's saying. And then you read Prabhupada's books, and he says exactly the same thing, but in such sweet English, such simple English. Because Bhaktivinod, he wanted to impress the intelligent class of people. They'd also have to take out their dictionaries. You know, that Mahaprabhu's philosophy is not just an excuse for begging and filling your belly and having illicit sex life, but actually there's a very divine, esteemed philosophy behind. So he wrote in very bombastic language to bring the minds of the intelligent class of men to Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. So it's the appearance day, so we'll leave the disappearance. So that's also a wonderful pastime. But eventually, his ashes were brought to Godrumadweep, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta established a nice samadhi there in Godrumadweep for Bhaktivinod Thakur. Okay, here's a song. Now, I can remember in school, sometimes the teacher would, in grammar class, they would have us write a poem. And to write poetry, even in your own language, very difficult. What to speak of in a foreign language. And Bhaktivinod, he wrote this song in a foreign language. Anybody got a guitar? You can bring your guitar. Alas for those who spend their days in festive mirth and joy, the dazzly, deadly liquid forms their hearts for e'er employ. The shining bottles charm their eyes and draw their hearts' embrace. The slaves of wine can never rise from what we call disgrace. Was man intended to be a brute in work and heart? Should man, the Lord of all around, from common sense depart? Man's glory is in common sense, dictating us the grace that man is made to live and love this beauteous heaven's embrace. The flesh is not our own, alas, the mortal frame a chain. The soul confined for former wrongs should try to rise again. Why then this childish play in that which cannot be our own, which falls within 100 years as if a rose a-blown? Our life is but a rosy hue to go ere long for naught. The soul alone, the soul alone would last fore'er, for good and evil fraught. How deep the thought of time to be, how grave the aspect looks, and wrapped in awe become all we when reading nature's books. Man's life to him a problem dark, a screen both left and right. No soul hath come to tell us what exists beyond our sight. But then a voice, how deep and soft, within ourselves is felt. Man, man, thou art immortal soul, thee death can never melt. For thee thy sire on high has kept a store of bliss above. To end of time thou art, O his, who once but purest love. O love, thy power and spell benign, now melt my soul to God. How can my earthly words describe that feeling soft and broad? Enjoyment, sorrow, what but lots to which the flesh is heir? The soul that sleeps alone concludes, in them it hath a share. And then my friends no more enjoy, nor weep for all below. The women, wine, and flesh of beast no love on thee bestow. But thine to love thy brother man, and give thyself to God. And God does know your wages fair, this fact is true and broad. Forgets the past that sleeps, and ne'er the future dream at all, but act in times that are with thee, and progress ye shall call. But tell me not in reasoning cold, the soul is made alone by earth's mechanic, lifeless rules, and to destruction prone. This is Prabhupada's preaching to the scientists, all put in very briefly in a verse. You tell me not in reasoning cold, the soul is made alone by earth's mechanic, lifeless rules, and to destruction prone. My God, who gave us life and all alone the soul can kill, or give it all the joys of love, his promise to fulfill. To push thy onward march, O soul, against an evil deed that stands with soldiers, hate and lust, a hero be in need. Maintain thy post in spirit world as firmly as you can. Let never matter push thee down, O stand heroic man. O Shahagrahi Vaishnav soul, thou art an angel fair. Lead me on to Vrindavan, and Spirit's power declare. There rests my soul from matter free upon my lover's arms. Eternal peace and Spirit's love are all my chanting charms. Eternal peace and Spirit's love are all my chanting charms. Are all my chanting charms, are all my chanting charms. Perfect rhyme and meter in a foreign language. Can you imagine? It's so amazing. Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur ki. So anyone has any questions or comments? There's so many things we could say, but time is running on, so. Yes, I was just going to call you.
I was told that when Bhaktivinod Thakur was trying to find the Chaitanya Amrita, it was almost impossible to find. He searched 6 years for it before he finally found one. And without Chaitanya, Bhakti Siddhanta used to say, if all the books we had in this world were Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we would be okay. But if even Srimad Bhagavatam would be lost, we would be fine with Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Bhaktivinod found it.
And now, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is translated in almost every language of India and every language of the world. So we're so deeply indebted to Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur. Anybody else has anything nice to say? Question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. As you were telling the pastimes of Bhaktivinod Thakur, despite that man cursing him and his whole family falling ill, and even Bhaktivinod Thakur falling ill, still he kept what he wanted to do. But in today's term, if we get a little bit distracted, a little problem comes, we give up the devotional service and walk away. So how do we keep that faith going despite all the difficulties?
So Prabhupada said 90% of our advancement is association with devotees. If we don't keep association with devotees somehow or another, then Prabhupada gave the example. If you have a little stick, easy to break. But if you put so many tiny, tiny sticks together, you try to break them, impossible. So keeping association with devotees. If we can't live in the temple, even as a householder, then we must invite the Vaishnavas to our house and have kirtan and so many things. So So somehow or other we have to keep association of Vaishnavas. And other thing is studying Prabhupada's books. If we don't study Prabhupada's books, we have to read every day. If we don't study Prabhupada's books, then we'll become very weak. But the only way we can stay strong is Prabhupada's books and association of Vaishnavas. Oh yeah, Radha Madhav, for whom Bhaktivinod wrote that beautiful song. There's still, and that Raghunath Shila, his great-great-great-grandfather, wherever he was, he told that Raghunath himself has brought this deity, this Shila, without being invited. By his own he came. And if there's any lapse in the seva, he will leave by his own. And to this day, that Raghunath Shila is still there in Choti Mangalpur, along with this beautiful deity of Radha Madhav, for whom Bhaktivinod wrote that beautiful song that we sing every morning before Bhagavatam class. And at Kartik, the person who's now in charge of those deities, he brings those Radha Madhav to stay at the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Shyam Sundar. So you can get darshan. They say that these deities were, some people say that they were worshipped by Lord Nityananda even. They're very, very old deities. But if you want their darshan, you come to Vrindavan and Kartik, and you'll see them there. Yes?
Hare Krishna, Baba. Thank you for giving wonderful lecture. Baba, I just wanted to know about as Prabhupada worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, Bhaktivinod Thakur was worship Gaur Gadadhar. So, can you tell us like some pastime or some reason of that?
I don't know any pastime, but just I know that he was very, because Gadadhar is actually, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taken the bhav and luster, so Gadadhar, he's like without the bhav. Like you see, he never, Radharani, if Krishna misbehaves, she becomes very angry. But Gadadhar, he just pouts. He doesn't take any action. You know, he's like Radharani without her bhav, because Mahaprabhu has taken the bhav. So he always worshipped Gaur and Gadadhar, Krishna and Radha. But anyway, Prabhupada has given us Gaur Nitai, so mostly we worship Gaur Nitai. Because we know that, especially us from the West, we're the most fallen. You don't want to know about us. We crashed Yamaraj's hard drive. And we know that even those people that Lord Chaitanya can't save, Lord Nityananda saves. So, Jagai and Madhaya is the example. And the way I tell them apart was Madai, he became mad. So he's Madai. And Jagai, Jaggai. Whoa, what have you done? Tune kya kar diya bhaiya? So Lord Chaitanya was ready to kill him, but even Lord Nityananda saved him. So we're the most fallen and we need the most mercy. So we need the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, how many children Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur was having?
How many?
Children.
I can't remember actually, but he had quite a few. And we can imagine, having so many children, having, a big job, heavy job, still writing so many books, writing so many bhajans, doing so much preaching. We're just astounded, totally astounded. 10 children. Only two is right now. I don't know about that one.
Hare Krishna. So I heard that in Jagannath Puri temple inside, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would take darshan of Lord Jagannath, by his bhav the rock melted and there was a footprint. So Bhaktivinod Thakur, he saw the footprint was there and he took out the slab and he took it out and built a small temple inside the compound
Maybe.
of Lord Chaitanya. I also heard that in this song, Jai Radha Madhav Kunj Bihari Gopijana Vallabh Girivaradhari, others are also Bhaktivinoda Thakur's deities. Like Radha Madhav is there, Kunj Bihari is also there, but nobody knows where Kunj Bihari is. But Gopijana Vallabh and Girivaradhari, they are in Calcutta.
That's right.
So some family is taking care, and ISKCON devotees tried to make friends with them, but they understood our intention, so they don't want to give up their deities. So it's there in Calcutta, Gopijana Vallabh and Girivaradhari.
Okay, we'll put our voice to rest here. Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur ki jai.